On December 1st, 1961, the Morning Star flag was raised for the first time. It represented Dutch New Guinea, a colony that was moving towards independence as the Republic of West Papua. For West Papuans, this moment was a sign that they would soon be a free people. But look at a map today, and you won't find the Republic of West Papua. Despite the promises made 62 years ago today, West Papuans are still fighting for independence. Here's the story. In 1961, the colonial authorities in Dutch New Guinea held elections for a local legislature, with a view to granting the colony independence as West Papua by the end of the decade. The raising of the Morning Star flag was a promise to West Papuans that self-determination was on the horizon. But for Indonesia, the flag was a provocation. Indonesian President Sukarno insisted that he was the rightful ruler of West Papua, and a few weeks later launched a military invasion to, quote, liberate it. This alarmed the American government, not because they cared about the people of West Papua, but because Indonesia was buying military equipment from the Soviets, and a new military campaign could result in even stronger ties. To resolve the conflict quickly, American diplomats organized secret three-way talks with the Indonesian and Dutch governments. The people of West Papua were not invited to take part. The talks resulted in the New York Agreement, in which the Dutch agreed to hand over sovereignty of West Papua to Indonesia via the UN, and Indonesia agreed to hold a referendum in 1969 to let the people of West Papua choose independence if they wanted it. After the agreement was signed, the Netherlands followed through with its obligations, but Indonesia did not. It's possible that Indonesia never actually intended to honor its side of the bargain. In the early 1960s, Indonesia was heading towards dictatorship. It's hard to believe a government unwilling to give a genuine choice to its own people would be willing to give a genuine choice to the West Papuan people. Indonesia also truly believed West Papua was rightfully theirs to take. Both Indonesia and West Papua had previously been part of a single sprawling colony known as the Dutch East Indies, but when Indonesia won its independence in 1949, the Netherlands split West Papua off to keep. This was arguably illegal. The British did something similar when it kept the Chagos Islands from newly independent Mauritius, an act recently ruled unlawful by the International Court of Justice. Nevertheless, Indonesia's government freely entered into the New York Agreement and freely promised to let the West Papuans determine their own future, but failed to do so. When 1969 arrived, Indonesia organized a, quote, act of free choice. Instead of everyone getting a secret ballot vote, as stipulated in the New York Agreement, Indonesia selected 1,022 West Papuans, just 0.1% of the population, to meet together and cast their votes publicly. Oh, and Indonesian officials also allegedly threatened violence against anyone not voting the right way. Unsurprisingly, all 1,022 votes were for West Papua to stay part of Indonesia. The U.S. government knew that the act of free choice was a sham. In confidential reports, U.S. officials said the vast majority of West Papua's inhabitants favored independence, and that, quote, Indonesia could not win an open election. But the U.S. wanted to be friends with Indonesia's new dictator, Suharto, and played along. With the fake vote out of the way, the Indonesian government began its brutal and destructive reign in West Papua, which continues still today. This includes population transfers from other islands, systematic racism against indigenous West Papuans, large-scale ecocide, and repeated human rights abuses, many too graphic to include in this video. To limit bad press, Indonesia banned foreign journalists and NGOs from entering West Papua in 1963, and that ban remains in place today. The people of West Papua never gave up on their dream of independence, however. Unsurprisingly, there is a militant front, which is spread across several independent commands that have evolved over the decades. Any action taken by West Papuan forces is met by an overwhelming response from the Indonesian military, which often spills over into military attacks on civilians as well. There has also been a highly organized international political campaign. As with military wings, there were several groups operating independently until 2014, when they came together to form the United Liberation Movement for West Papua, led by Benny Wenda. Wenda escaped West Papua in 2002 while on trial. He was facing up to 25 years in prison for leading a procession at a pro-independence rally. In 2020, the ULMWP announced the formation of a provisional government for the Republic of West Papua, with Wenda serving as interim president. In 2021, Wenda's government set out its Green State Vision, a plan for a future West Papuan state with environmental and social protection, customary guardianship, and democratic governance. West Papua's provisional government cannot implement the Green State Plan, however, until Indonesia upholds its side of the New York Agreement and lets the people of West Papua freely determine their own future. This will not happen until Indonesia faces significantly more international pressure, and this will not happen until more people know the story of West Papua and take action. Well, viewer, now you know the story. Time to take action.